Off the Cuff is supported by Patreon. Join today and become an honorary producer and get in-show credit on every episode. Hi everybody and welcome to Off the Cuff. Well, today we're gonna get fancy. Oh yeah, I'm gonna make something delectable, something savory, and something very, very special. Something, in all honesty, I thought I would never, ever make it home. It's a real treat. Yeah, I guarantee if you're a fan of this, you're gonna start salivating. I'm gonna be making French onion soup. Oh yeah, it's so great. Yeah, but I'm making it low carb. And I'm even gonna show you how to make low carb homemade croutons to go with it. French onion soup is so savory and delicious and cheesy and satisfying. I mean, it is comfort food. And I have to tell you, I can't remember the last time I had it. It's been a long time. Since I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, I've avoided it because of all the carbs. Well, today, I'm gonna solve that. So I can't remember the last time I had it, but I do remember the first time I had it. Back in 1987, I was doing a show at Chuckles Comedy Club in Mineola in Long Island. It was called the John Bizarre Flamethrower Comedy Bash with free helium. Yeah, that's the entire name. And yeah, it was just as wacky and crazy as it sounds. Now, John Bizarre is a great comic. He's still out there doing comedy. He's in Vegas now. But he used to take us to this tavern in Mineola, and they served French onion soup, and I had never had it before. Well, I had it, and oh my goodness, a love affair was born. I just fell in love with it since then, and now, and ever, forever. So you can see why I'm really excited about making it on the show today. You know who else was famous for making it? Julia Child. Yeah, she was. I heard something really interesting. A relative of hers has written a book. Yeah, it's all about onions too. I gotta check it out. But I actually saw the interview, and I have a clip of it. Here, watch.
Welcome to In the Spotlight. I'm your host, Stephen Butterworth, and today we celebrate the great legacy of the French chef, Julia Child. She dedicated her life for decades to teaching the world the joys of French cooking. Sadly, we lost Julia in 2004. But her great legacy continues today and is championed by her grandson, Julian. He's here today to talk about his new book, 101 Ways to Use an Onion. Please welcome Julian Child.
Oh, hello! It's so wonderful to be here. Thank you for having me on your show. Oh, please excuse the sunglasses. I have very sensitive eyes.
Our pleasure, and not at all. But it's amazing. You look and sound just like your famous grandmother.
Oh, yes, yes. I do try to measure up, but it's quite impossible. Nana was 6'2". I'm only 5'11".
I didn't realize that. She was 6'2".
Oh, yes, she was quite tall. Nana could probably slam dunk an onion. Ooh, 102 uses.
Nice. So tell us about your new book.
Well, it's all about onions, yes. But don't get too close. It's a tearjerker. Get it?
Yes, very amusing. Very amusing. But what is the purpose of your book?
Well, it is just as it portends. It demonstrates 101 uses for an onion.
Well, I haven't had a chance to read your book yet, but does it involve all types of onions?
Of course. A plethora.
And what is your favorite type of onion to work with?
Oh, well, you know, onions are just like my children. I love them all.
What's your favorite technique to caramelize an onion?
What?
To caramelize an onion.
Caramelize? Well, you know, your producer told me there wouldn't be any cooking questions.
Well, it's pretty basic. You know how to caramelize an onion, right?
Of course, I'm Julian Child.
Great. What's your method?
My method? Oh, well, I take an onion and a pan,
What kind?
a round one. And then I heat up the pan and I dice the dickens out of that onion and throw it in the pan, and then I heat it all up, and then I pour caramel all over the onion, and bon appetit! Now?
No. What is going on here?
Well, the jig is up. This wig was getting a little itchy anyway.
You're an imposter?
Yeah, no. Julia was my nana. I just don't know diddly squat about cooking.
Are the sunglasses part of your disguise?
Oh, no. I'm wearing them because I am stoned out of my gourd.
What about the book?
Oh, it's a real book. I just didn't write it.
Who did?
ChatGPT, so I bet you it's a bitchin' book.
You haven't read it.
Dude, it's 300 pages. I'll wait for the audio version.
So you know nothing about onions?
Oh, that's not true. I love onions on burgers. I love onions on steaks. Oh, onion rings are my jam, dude. Oh, can you imagine? Onion gummies. Whoa.
I think it's about time we wrap this up.
Oh, you know what else I love? I love that bloomin' onion. Man, those Australians really knew what they were doing when they invented that, huh?
It isn't Australian.
What?
It's American.
But it's got the word bloomin' in it.
It was invented by the co-founder of the Outback Steakhouse.
Dude, that's where I was when I first had it.
Delightful. Well, I think that's all the time.
Oh, you know what else? You know what else I like?
Another hit off your bomb.
No.
Cheech and Chong box set.
No.
Sucking mustard straight from the bottle over the sink at 2 a.m.
Oh, yeah, but no. French onion soup.
Oh, do you know how to make it?
No. But here are the ingredients, dude. Okay, let's make that French onion soup. Here's what you'll need. 2 large yellow onions sliced thin. 2 tablespoons butter, 1 tablespoon olive oil, 1 tablespoon keto brown sugar, 4 cups of beef broth, 1/2 cup of dry white wine, 1 teaspoon of Worcestershire sauce, 1/2 teaspoon each of dried thyme and garlic powder, 1/4 teaspoon of xanthan gum, and salt and pepper to taste. Now for the low-carb croutons. 4 slices of low-carb bread, 2 tablespoons of butter, melted, 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1/2 teaspoon of onion powder, 1/4 teaspoon of salt and black pepper, and 1/4 cup of grated Parmesan. Okay, I'm ready to start cooking, but wait, first, we have to do some time travel. Remember, I'm doing this in a slow cooker, so I actually started this 4 hours ago. So we have to go 4 hours into the past. Now, how can we do that? Oh, I know. That only works in Wayne's World. Ah, I know. Oh, okay, here we are. 4 hours in the past. Gotta slice these onions and caramelize them. Please join me. Okay, so I'm gonna slice my onions on the mandolin here. No music, just slicing. And now I'm going to prepare my onions. Prepare to die. There you go. Now it's ready. I'm cutting off this end first. And you want a flat surface for this so you don't cut yourself. Then you take the knife and cut the onion in half. Just like that. Now we peel. Peel this layer off. There we go. I usually have an easy time with this because I'm very appealing. Okay, never mind. Okay, that's 1 onion. It only took me 1 hour and 14 minutes. Didn't look that long on YouTube. And 1 more 1/4 onion or half onion to attack. That's good. And I'm not just saying that. I might be, but I'm not. Here we go. There's our cut onions. Okay, so I have the mandolin out. I'm going to cut this in the mandolin rather than doing it with a knife. Now, I have a board on a board here, so what I did is I put a towel underneath the cutting board here to make sure it doesn't move, because this is really sharp. If you don't believe it, check that out. Yeah, sharp. And all I was doing is looking at it. So anyway, here we go. We're cutting our onion on the mandolin. And now when you get down low, there is a guard for it. You know what? That's not going to work. It's okay. I'm just not going to go lower than that. Look at that. Look at those onions. That looks fantastic. All right. Just 17 more. Kidding. Okay. Here we go. Just cut the onions. And I'm not crying. You're crying. Woo! Look at that. I am. Now this recipe called for 2 onions, but I don't know. That's an awful lot. Man. Here we go. Wow. Wow. I feel so rich and oniony. That's incredible. Should I do more? Should I do the last one? Should I? All right, I'll do it. I think we got plenty. Oh yeah, look at that. Look at this. Unbelievable. Now we have to caramelize it. Okay, so now we're ready to caramelize our onions. I've preheated this to about half. So we're gonna melt the 2 tablespoons of butter. I actually brought the heat down because it's way too hot right now, but that's okay to melt this. I'm going to take it off the heat for a second so it doesn't get too brown. Although that's what we're looking for, so. Just going to let this melt. There we go. Now we put in our olive oil. Yeah, this is about the temperature you want. You don't want it to get too hot. Okay, now let's put in the onion. Now, according to every direction I've read, this is a key part of making your soup flavorful. And what I'm doing here is, I'm going to take that off right here. Don't need that. As we're going to see in food facts, I don't want to spoiler alert, they recommend you do this to up to 45 minutes. I'm not going to do it that long, but I'm definitely going to do at least 20 to 25. And I already see that the onions are starting to heat up. Now, what the onions are going to do is they're going to get clear, or as we say, translucent. And then they'll start to caramelize. Oh yeah, as we move on to minute 5, you can see a difference here. Of course, my arm, you know what I need to invent? An automatic onion soup onion stir. That's what I need. I know they have it. Well, I don't know if they have it for onions, but they have it for sauces. So as I've been doing this, I reread the directions. It said medium-low heat, which I've accomplished. It also says to stir occasionally. I was under the impression you had to stir it all the time. So I'm gonna do 30 seconds on and 30 seconds off from here on in, or something like that. Okay, we're about 10 minutes in. You can see we're well on our way to caramelization. Yes, looks nice. It's getting a yellow tint to it. As we've gone on here, I've spread the onions out as much as I can in the pan. That way increasing the surface area and cooking and caramelizing more of the onions at the same time. Okay, we're now at 15 minutes. That's about the half time. And yes, you can see we're well on our way. It's doing very well. You see it's getting brown. It's beautiful. Just gonna stir it up. Another 10 to 15 minutes and we're golden. Literally. That's 22 minutes. In goes the brown sugar. The keto brown sugar, ladies and gentlemen, the keto brown sugar. And that's gonna help it caramelize even more. Probably not as fast as regular sugar, but it will. I believe my job here is done. Let's turn off the burner. Now I'm gonna put this on the side and I'm gonna get our slow cooker. Okay, so I've set the crock pot on high because this is gonna take about 3 or 4 hours. And our first thing, we're gonna put the caramelized onions inside the crock pot or the slow cooker, whatever you wish to call it. Next up, the 4 cups of beef broth. This is optional. 1/2 cup of dry white wine, the Worcestershire sauce, the thyme leaves, and then here we have our salt, pepper, and our garlic. And once we put it in, we're going to stir it all around. We cover it and forget it for 4 hours. Hey, how about we watch some food facts now? French onion soup traces its roots back to ancient civilization where it was a staple ingredient, mainly because of its availability, its shelf life, and its ease of cultivation. Onions were widely consumed by the Egyptians, Greeks, and Romans, often cooked in a broth or a simple stew. Now, the Greeks and the Romans thought onions had a medicinal quality, and they would boil it in soups as a remedy for various ailments. During the Middle Ages, onion-based broths were very popular with peasants and the European middle class. They found it cheap, filling, and nourishing, and the perfect sustenance for those harsh European winters. Now, take note, this broth was not nearly as rich or complex as modern French onion soup. The first soups to actually resemble modern French onion soup came in France in the 17th century, and the main reason was the caramelization of onions. Yeah, it gave the soup a much deeper, richer flavor. Also, the French were one of the first to use beef broth as a base. That was a practice used by chefs who were under the rule of Louis XV. Speaking of Louis XV, according to legend, he came home one time from a hunting trip, and in his cupboard he only found onions, butter, and champagne. So he combined those ingredients into a soup, and now that's now known as our French onion soup. That's probably romanticized a little bit, but it does point out how French onion soup both appealed to commoners and the aristocracy. Here is another possible origin. This one credits the creation of the soup to exiled King of Poland, Stanislaw Leszczynski. I think I got that name right, I'm not even sure. Anyway, according to the story, he was visiting Paris in the 18th century and he was served a rustic onion soup in a tavern and he loved it, yes. So he brought the recipe back with him and he introduced it to high society. In the 19th century, onion soup gained popularity when it was mentioned in Alexandre Dumas's Grand Dictionnaire de Cuisine in 1873. Also in the 19th century, French onion soup became a staple in Parisian bistros and taverns and was very popular with the working class, night workers, and market vendors. It was also sold in markets like La Halle, the big open-air market in Paris that operated from the 12th to the 20th century. The biggest innovation at this time was gratiné, the addition of a piece of crusty bread, usually stale, covered in melted cheese. Yeah, this soon became the standard and elevated the soup's status. The most common cheese used was Gruyere, and it's also a lot of fun to say. That's a semi-hard cheese from Switzerland that's known for its nutty and slightly salty taste. Now, also used were Comté and Emmental, but they're not as fun to say. So right at the start of the 20th century, this version of French onion soup with the sliced baguette slices and the broiled cheese solidified its place in French culinary tradition. French onion soup remained a beloved part of French cuisine throughout the 20th century. However, after World War II, its global popularity surged when American soldiers who were stationed in France who developed a taste for French onion soup brought it home with them to the USA. In the 1960s and 1970s, French cuisine experienced a boom in the United States, thanks to chefs like the aforementioned Julia Child, oh, there she is, who introduced the United States to French culinary traditions. French onion soup was now becoming a staple in fine dining establishments, steakhouses, and even casual restaurants. It was served usually in a ceramic crock, covered with a thick, bubbly layer of broiled Gruyere cheese. Meanwhile, in France, the soup retained its reputation as a late-night or hangover cure, commonly consumed after a long night of drinking. It became the go-to dish in Parisian brasseries for partygoers and night owls in places like Au Pied de Cochon in Les Halles. Of course, like most popular foods, French onion soup has adopted different variations. Now, some chefs use veal or chicken stock instead of beef to create a lighter version of the soup. Other variations use red wine, sherry, or cognac to deepen the flavor of the soup. I'm using dry white wine. Aside from Gruyere cheese, and we've already mentioned Comté and Emmental, other cheeses used are mozzarella, cheddar, Parmesan, and Swiss. By the way, Swiss and Gruyere, close cousins. And now it's time for French onion soup trivia. International Onion Soup Day is January 12th. In France, by the way, it's not called French onion soup. It's called soupe de l'oignon. In the 18th century, French onion soup was considered an aphrodisiac. It was commonly served to newlyweds in late night. Ooh la la. Some of the top chefs in the world say the secret to really good French onion soup is to caramelize the onions for at least 45 minutes. I'm doing mine in the slow cooker. I got that covered. And finally, onion soup is one of the oldest continuously consumed soups in history. As we said earlier, it dates back to the ancient Egyptians, Greeks, and Romans. We've gone full circle. And that's Food Facts. Okay, let's make our croutons. First, let's melt our butter. Yep, 22 seconds, butter is melted. Come on. We have our bowl, put in the melted butter. Now put in our salt, black pepper, and onion powder. Hey, we need more onion, right? There you go. And this is garlic. Love the garlic. Now we mix this all up. We're gonna mix it up like this, see that? Tell you what we're going to do now. Now we take our bread and we're going to cut this into 1-inch cubes. These are going to be our croutons. Now we throw them in here and we toss them around. Toss them in. Make sure they get covered with all the goodness that we have in here. The butter and the garlic and the onion and the butter. Now that we have the sheet pan, now we're going to lay out all our croutons, our bread right now. Okay, once you have them all laid out like this, or if you're in the cheap seats, there you go. Put them into a preheated oven. The oven preheated to 375 for 10 to 15 minutes. Okay, it's been 11 minutes. Yep, looks like we have croutons. Look at those, real nice. We're ready for our soup. Now the first thing I'm gonna do is, oh yeah, this looks so good. Let's fill up the crock with some soup. Look at that, it looks fantastic. There we are. Now when it gets to be that much, I'm putting in some cheese, some strips of cheese to melt in there. Here we go. So we have cheese on the inside. It's all melty and delicious. Okay, now some of these croutons, which came out fantastic, by the way. Put them in there. Okay. Now let's put in some more of the soup. Oh, baby. A little bit more. There we are. Now I'm going to cover it with Swiss cheese. Or Gruyere-like cheese, whatever you want to call it. Okay. Now we're going to put it under the broiler for about 3 or 4 minutes. We have to watch it. Okay, now you should have this at least 4 to 6 inches below the broiler. Here we go. And I actually put a pan underneath it in case any of the cheese drops down so it doesn't, get all over the oven. Can't wait for this. And I did it! I made homemade low-carb delicious, I hope, French onion soup with homemade low-carb croutons. Here it is. It's now just cool enough for me to hold it, but it's only gonna be a few seconds. I'm gonna have to put it down again. It is really, really warm and hot, but boy, this looks fantastic. Every time I make something, I say this a lot, but it had a lot of ingredients. It's something I've never tried before. I don't really make soups. I've made a couple of easy ones. This is pretty good. The biggest time consumer with this, of course, is caramelizing the onions. After that, you just throw the ingredients in and wait for it to cook, and then melt the cheese. And so we have. This can be fancy. This can be daily. It can be whatever you want for parties, for special events, or just when you're in the mood for some French onion soup, which, looking at this, I think it's going to be a lot. Let's see if it has a cheesy pull. Oh, yeah. Oh, boy. Oh, yeah. A cheesy pull it does have. I cannot wait to taste this. All right. Okay, the moment of truth, my first taste. Oh, boy, is that good. Oh, boy, is that good. Ooh. Oh, it's cheesy. These croutons are hearty. They're delicious. The onions have such a great flavor. I mean 20, 25 minutes of caramelization and then the slow cooking. Oh, that's so good. I can taste a hint of the wine in there. Just the flavor. Oh, look at the cheesiness. The cheesy goodness. I would eat that, but not on camera. It's gonna be messy. Oh yeah. One more. Wow. I made French onion soup, and it was really, really easy. And you can too. This is terrific. And that's it for this time around. I'm here again in another 2 weeks with yet another recipe. Until then, be well, eat good.